Hello, everyone. Well, yes, I've got an unusual pathway into sustainable fashion in that my sort of incubation period was learnt in a dental surgery and also working as a journalist. And whilst these two previous professions may seem at complete odds with being a sustainable fashion advocate, actually, they were very instrumental because A, from being a dentist, I was very actively involved in public health. And then B, as from being a journalist, I was very active in writing about environmental issues, environmental pollution, and critically, its effect on people's public health. And the marriage of environmental pollution and public health were really the sort of feeding ground for my commitment and interest in sustainable fashion because as many of you fashion professionals will understand, the fashion and textile industry is so polluting, and this pollution wreaks havoc not only on the environment but also on people's health. And I really thank my dental surgery days and I thank my journalism days for giving me both the passion and the heart, but also the dog with the bone interest in trying to answer questions about why can't the fashion industry be less polluting? That is my big question, and it wakes me up every day. And I don't know yet the full answer to it, but I think as individuals, it's a great question to be asking ourselves. Why can we not make fashion more sustainable and less polluting? I think my area of expertise is waste reduction and waste related issues, particularly textile waste and clothing waste. And I say that because through founding Redress in 2007, which has a mission to reduce waste in the fashion industry, and then more recently founding the R Collective, which is a social impact business in 2017, which also has a mission to reduce waste in the fashion industry. I have essentially for 14, I think, years been working in waste issues. Now, why is that my specialist area? Well, waste, fashion industry is not very transparent, full stop. And then when you start to dig beneath that, waste is definitely not a very transparent sector. And I think my speciality and my expertise is having been working in this sector, which is very, very untransparent for such a long time, means that I've, lifted the lid into waste issues, and it's given me a huge amount of insight into why businesses have waste and what they can do with it in what is essentially a very uncharted area of the industry, because most businesses, all businesses, dare I say it, do not really want to talk about their waste. And ultimately, if we look at environmental impact, reducing waste, utilizing waste, pushing the circular economy is the knight in shining armor that will make the fashion industry more sustainable. And so I am focused on waste, and that's what I love and hate in equal measures. I think for me, what shocks me is the waste statistics, and particularly that, according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation report in 2017, the equivalent of one dumper truck of textiles is either landfilled or incinerated every second globally. Now, why that shocks me is I'm sure all of us can picture a dumper truck because, wherever you live in the world, you've got dumper trucks. Imagine that being filled with textiles, which are highly polluting to actually create. And imagine that every 1 second that dump truck is being landfilled or incinerated. Now, that smacks me of being superbly inefficient. And dare I say it, I want to use the word stupid, that in today's world where we are highly educated and we understand environmental pollution, we understand the circular economy, we understand that textile production is so polluting, that somehow we are allowing such amazing materials to slip through our fingers and to go into a puff of smoke or into a landfill every single second. And it disturbs me but excites me that this is a huge opportunity off our time as fashion professionals to get this number down. I think the first thing in preparing for a more sustainable fashion industry is to literally wake up to the need to do it. I think, many fashion industry professionals might not have caught up with, us kids in the fast lane, which have awoken to this a long time ago. And even according to various reports that you can find, particularly the Boston Consulting Group and the Pulse report that they did with the Global Fashion Agenda, you can see that the adoption of sustainability from the top fashion industry businesses globally is not really fast enough. There are still a significant amount of businesses that have not yet adopted sustainability into their core strategy, their product offering, or into their, environmental social governance. So the best way to get going on this is to realize that if you don't get with it, you're in the old fashion industry, you're not keeping up with where the industry needs to go, because in my 13, 14 years of being literally day in, day out, thinking about sustainability in fashion, I can say day and night that the whole industry, not all the industry, much of the industry is waking up. And to the people who are not waking up, I would say, wake up, because you're going to get left behind if you're not part of this. So that's really my overriding answer is enjoy the waking up process. Don't be alarmed or frightened or feel that you've missed the party, because we need everybody in it.
So the fashion professionals in the industry, the ones that are, from independents to the ones that work in these apparel companies, who are looking to shift for a more sustainable approach, what should they do, these individuals?
I think the first thing, obviously, with a mindset change, assuming that we have a radical mindset change, which is basically approaching the topic with a bit of courage and a little bit of more determination. From there on in, it's peeling back. I always think the lowest hanging fruit. What can I do in my particular profession to make a difference in my day-to-day practice? Now, to get specific on that answer, clearly it depends on what you do in the fashion industry. So, for example, I could take such a simple example of, if you're a technical designer or you're a pattern cutter, how can you truly increase fabric utilization? I mean, I know it may seem very obvious, because that's obviously a bottom line consideration, but how do we improve the technical pattern cutting process? That would be an obvious one. As fashion designers per se, I mean, it is estimated that 80% of the environmental product as fashion designers, it's estimated that 80% of the environmental impact of a product is laying it down at the design stage. So as designers, that means that every single thought process, every single practice, every single sketch, every single digital design needs to incorporate sustainability. And that means taking a full life cycle approach to product design and use, so that you're not just conceiving of a product, but you're really imagining the product throughout its whole life cycle, not just for the first consumer who's going to use it, but what about the second consumer, the third consumer, and the fourth consumer? So it's not a particularly specific example that I've given to you, but sorry, ditch that bit. So on top of the mindset change that's needed, I would also say that as fashion industry professionals, we need to get much more vocal of asking questions. So rather than being asked to do X, ask, why am I doing X? Is there a better way to do X? And particularly in looking at the supply chain, we need to see more equitable sort of partnerships, not just at the big businesses and the big suppliers, but amongst ourselves. We need to help each other to become more accountable to changes and positive changes. And I do genuinely believe that includes having more courage to speak up if there are good ideas. The fashion industry has often been dominated by, the big designer who powers that supply chain, but actually it's teamwork. And the more teamwork in product development and creation and production, the more sort of team spirit we can bring to that, so too can we listen to the expertise of players throughout the whole supply chain who have great ideas but are often not actually listened, because sometimes they don't voice up their ideas. I think for people wanting to learn more, I would thoroughly suggest going to the redressdesignaward.com website and to click on Learn, where you'll find videos and guides and technical guides, actually in multiple languages also, to introduce some concepts and theories and techniques, and to really start the design process off. And throughout the redress.com.hk website, there are also invaluable resources to learn. If you want to watch, read, or listen, that's the place to go to find resources, redress.com.hk. And I would also say that if you want to find me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Christina Dean, and I live there, and I also live in London, but that's where I am forever, I think.